Today, we're going on a journey. They say that time itself doesn't exist as we know it, or as we understand it. They say that time really only exists as something called space-time. Really, space-time, it's only a point on a giant map, something we can use to find out where we are, or where we've been, or where we're going. So, let's unfold space-time and trace our way back. First, let's just go back a couple of years.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
Underwater, here in New Orleans tonight, after the giant storm came the rising waters. Over 80% of the city is flooded.
At least 32 people have been shot dead at a university in Virginia. It's the worst mass shooting at a campus in American history.
With dramatic pictures of an accident that has happened just a short time ago. You're looking at the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan, where just a few minutes ago we're told that a plane, some reports are that it was a small commuter plane, crashed into the upper floors of one of the twin towers. You can see fire and flames.
People in the building?
Oh, another one just hit. Something else just hit. A very large plane just flew directly over my building, and there's been another collision. Can you see it? I can see it on the shot.
Oh my!
Something else has
building was falling down towards the ground. Look at the smoke! Look at the smoke! This is the whole building. Did it collapse?
Do we have Manchester Rich are getting ready for Y2K.
Jefferson County 911. Yes, I'm a teacher at Columbine High School. There is a student here with a gun.
Now let's go back a little further.
That I welcome this kind of examination because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
There has been an attempt, as perhaps you know now, on the life of President Kennedy. He was wounded in an automobile driving from Dallas Airport into downtown Dallas, along with Governor Connolly of Texas.
Ever expected to experience this kind of street fighting in Vietnam? No, I didn't, and this is my first crack at street fighting.
December 7th, 1941, a day of infamy.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Now let's go back farther, even before radio and television, when the airwaves were silent. Back past the signing of the Declaration of Independence, back past the Age of Enlightenment, before Martin Luther hung his protest on the church doors, before Columbus rediscovered the fact that the world was round. We go past Newton, Galileo, the Dark Ages, the Crusades, back to a time before books, when most of the world couldn't even read nor write, and history was oral. We leave this world now where we can hear and see a lone protester standing in front of a tank in a country on the other side of the planet. We can see it live, to a world seemingly simple, yet brutal beyond our understanding, where news was spread from mouth to mouth. We stop here, approximately the year 29, at a walled city in the Middle East called Jerusalem. This is the story of Easter. We begin the story with Jesus at the temple in Jerusalem, where he taught and shared parables with the locals each and every day, sunrise to sundown. The words Jesus spoke were magnetic, drawing large crowds of people, hanging on every word that he said. The chief priests of the temple, the lawmakers, and the government rulers began to catch wind of Jesus' teachings. They didn't like it, not one bit. They didn't like Jesus preaching on their ground, a man from out of town, waltzing in and teaching against what they taught. Just like the people hung on Jesus' every word, so did the chief priests. For they wanted to catch Jesus in something he said, so they could bring him to trial and ultimately kill him. The chief priests began sending spies to the temple, hoping to trap Jesus in what he preached. So one day, one of the spies questioned Jesus.
"Teacher, we know that what you teach and speak is right, and that you do not show partiality, but teach the way of God in accordance to the truth. Is it right for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" Immediately,
Jesus saw right through the spy and said to the crowd,
"Show me a coin. Whose portrait and inscription are on it?"
"Caesar!" the crowd replied. Then Jesus said to them,
"Then give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's."
The chief priests were surprised by his answer. They were utterly silent. They were unable to trap him in what he had said to the public. They didn't know what they could do. Later on, Judas, one of Jesus' 12 disciples, approached the chief priests. Judas had a plan. It was how to betray Jesus and how to turn him over to them at the right time. As you could expect, the chief priests were delighted with Judas's plan. They offered Judas some money for his services, and Judas accepted it. The agreement was that Judas would notify them when it was a good time to hand over Jesus, when no crowds were present. As time passed, the first day of Passover arrived. That morning, Jesus sent 2 of his disciples ahead into the city with instructions to prepare the Passover meal for later that evening. Later that evening, in a room called the Upper Room, Jesus and his 12 disciples had the Passover meal. Little did anyone know, but this would be Jesus' last meal. During the meal, Jesus took the bread, gave thanks, and broke it. He gave it to them, saying,
"This is my body I give for you. Do this in remembrance of me. This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you."